Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, and we are the program that looks after your mental health and well-being. So today we have a bumper show for you as we tackle the difficult topic of incarceration and recovery. I'll be joined by Dean Stalham, a former prisoner born into one of the Northwest London's biggest crime families, who turned his life around to become an artist, writer, director and activist for prison reform through art and education. He'll be joined by Carlotta Allum, who's also a former prisoner who founded her charity Stretch to enhance the rehabilitation and education of marginalised communities here in the UK. Then we'll be hearing from artist Joe Machine, who has gone on to achieve incredible success following a turbulent adolescence spent in a young offenders institute. We'll also be hearing from resident psychologist Dr Audrey Tang on what issues those fresh from prison might face. Nutritionist Severine Menem will be telling us how to eat healthily on a budget. And at the end of the show, I'll be giving you my tips on how to help an incarcerated loved one. Now, in the Prison Reform Trust summer briefing last year, they report that between March 2015 and March 2016, 290 people died in prison. That's the highest number on record. Serious assaults have nearly doubled in the last 3 years, and sexual assaults have more than doubled since 2011. Rates of self-harm are the highest ever recorded. And also there's a very poor record for reducing reoffending. 46% of adults are reconvicted within 1 year of release. Prison Reform Trusts say that these statistics reveal the state of our overcrowded prisons and the state of the people in them, the impact of deep budget cuts, the pace and scale of change in the justice system, and the scope for community solutions to crime. Well, we wanted to hear some of your opinions on the matter, so we took to Twitter to find out. Morgan Bowie posts this poll: do you believe that everyone, including inmates, deserve proper mental health treatment? 90% say yes, 10% no. David Jones says we need all staff to provide support but under professional supervision. Well-meaning can have enormous negative consequences. Sweet Seducing say people really don't see a problem with our legal prison system, and that's frightening. Recycle Your Cycle say we support prisoner rehabilitation by training prisoners to refurbish bikes that would have otherwise been abandoned. Tim Almond suggests overall we have an ageing prison population. Could that explain the suicide problem? And Belinda says her son managed to get out as well mentally as he did because of a small group of prisoners who supported each other. Was he just lucky? Yes. Well, as expected, some very thought-provoking opinions there. Now, to help us understand some of the issues facing prisoners is our resident psychologist, Dr Audrey Tang. Welcome to the show, Audrey.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
So not a topic that we've covered before on this programme, but a very important one, isn't it?
Incredibly important. When I was doing the research for the show, a lot of the academic research has been done in America rather than in the UK, and that was a real shame. There were a couple of good websites in the UK, but on the whole, it does seem to be the states that have taken it forward, just in terms of looking at reform and that kind of thing. And I think it's a whole area which we're missing out on and really should be studied a bit more widely. Okay.
So Audrey, can you tell us what are the mental effects of people that do end up in prison and, you know, trying to sort of think of a future, or do they even think of a future?
It's a really difficult one. We've got to put it into context, and at the risk of sounding a little bit controversial, prisons are there in many ways to house people for whom the normal rules of society haven't actually been able to apply. And because of that, some of the treatment in prison is aimed at breaking down that mindset so that person becomes manageable and not a risk to the people who are looking after the prisons. Also, when you've been put away, the rest of the world continues going without you, which means that there'll be new technologies, there'll be new things going on that you're missing out on, people are changing. And I think we have to sort of understand it in the wider context, in that there's still a stigma around prisons. People will sit there and say, well, they did wrong, they're put away, why should I care anymore? And it's actually something that we support a forensic psychologist, forensic nursing, all of that, with telling them, well, that person's been judged, they've already been sent away. What we've got to do now is concentrate on the mental health aspect or the medical aspect or the job that you're there to do, and not the judgment, because that's happened already. But it is really
such
difficult.
an important point.
Yeah. And well, the other thing actually to remember is, in terms of prisons, they are huge organisations. And you think of the problems with normal organisations, lack of communication, things not happening when they should happen, things going wrong, things going missing. All of those can be sort of made bigger within a prison, because you've still got the large organisation, you've still got thousands of people to be aware of. The lack of communication is going to be passed down, the lack of resources is going to be passed down, and all of that doesn't make for a particularly happy existence for anybody who's involved. And I think we need to be mindful of that whole kind of social situation, as well as the fact that prison does mean incarceration, which means institutionalisation to a greater or less extent. It also has a huge effect on families as well. A lot of the time, if you're separated from a loved one for a great length of time, those family ties begin to weaken. Again, research, and this is Harvard research, has shown very recently though, that it's prisoners who get out with strong family ties who are most likely to be rehabilitated. But family ties are not the only part of the story. The whole system, and a lot of the pieces I read were quite cynical about it. They say, although prison is there to rehabilitate, to reintroduce people back into the community, on the whole, it's only as good as that particular prison that you're in. And if the parole system, if the support isn't set up to help you, it can be incredibly difficult to get help, no matter how much support you have, no matter how strong-minded you are. And I think that's where we need to really think about progression and change.
In the meantime, however, until that, that becomes available. And obviously there are charities and stuff that do try to help, but there's still a lot to do. But how can someone actually kind of try to prepare themselves for life outside of prison?
It's to take advantage of anything that's offered to you, but also let's not forget that sometimes prisoners will carry around with them a huge guilt for what they've done. Even if they have access to chaplains, to religion, to anything like that, there's that sense of, well, why should I ask God to forgive me if I can't even forgive myself? And there's also the fear that you've let your parents down, you've let your families down, and it's the worry that you've caused them the problem too, and that can be a real issue for some. And so it's about that internal struggle and trying to find the inner strength to get through that, whilst you're in a situation where it's very difficult to trust anybody because you don't know what their motives are. You may look forward to a phone call or to a visit or something like that, but if something changes just like that, you will not necessarily have that visit. You will not necessarily have that phone call, and that can really cause a lot of problems as well. It's almost about, it sounds bureaucratic actually, it's very weird, but from what I was reading about, one of the most important things that actually loved ones can do to help is sometimes things are easier to arrange on the outside. So visits, for example, in some places the prisoner can arrange for the visit themselves, but actually the visitor can go and I think get a number or something like that and book a visit at a time when they know it's free. Because otherwise, if you were doing it and that time slot's booked, then you have to go through the whole process again. Visitors often need very strong ID. They need all the right paperwork. And again, if you've come unprepared for that, that
could cause
can also mean that that visit that person's looked forward to is no longer there. So it's almost about working together with the system to make that system work for you. And every prison's going to be different as well. And sadly, a lot of the time when you're in there, if your cellmate doesn't speak English, or if you if they don't want to talk to you or tell you what's going on, you may have to just find out whether when that door opens, is that for food, is that for exercise, is that for a search? You need to be kind of quite aware of what's going on around you, and it's sometimes a case of picking up a lot of things yourself too.
Okay, and when a person actually comes out, Audrey, what can maybe they do or try and do to try and kind of integrate back into society? Apart from trying to let go of some of the things that you mentioned, but is there anything in a practical sense?
Largely, the most successful reintegrations have been people who've got the strongest family ties. Now, often, again, the research has cited romantic relationships, but siblings are really important. Again, there's also been an age group where it seems the younger you are, the stronger those ties can be. Okay. It may be a case of realising that the situation that got you into the prison in the first place may not have changed, and so going back into the same situation may not be the most helpful. That can be very easy, you can relapse from that. Sometimes a lot of the successes do come from finding that that purpose or that value within the prison itself, and helping others to not follow you down the same path. I've been very lucky to have worked in adult education, and during I've attended some of the award ceremonies there for students and teachers who have done an awful lot for their community, and there's been a few ex-prisoners as well who have actually turned their lives around and gone to help other young people avoid it. So again, it's a case of finding that purpose whilst you're in the prison, but only you can do that, and you have to be so strong-minded, because it does seem as if the whole thing is out there to break you down psychologically.
Audrey, thank you so much for your participation on today's programme, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Well guys, don't go away, because after the break I'll be hearing from Dean Stalham and Carlotta Allum, who both spent some time in prison but have managed to turn their lives around and are doing incredible things for others in need. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, your TV programme for all things related to mental health and well-being. So today we are speaking about the impact that incarceration can have on a person's mental health. And I'm very pleased to be joined by former prisoner Dean Stalham, who has gone on to become an artist and activist for prison reform through his organisation Art Saves Lives, and Carlotta Allum, also a former prisoner who founded her charity Stretch to help provide support to marginalised communities here in the UK. Hello to you both.
Hello.
Hi, Chrissy.
Lovely to have you both on. So you've both got your own stories about, prison life and how that affected you. Let's start with you, Carlotta, ladies first. What was it like for you?
It was a massive shock. I mean, I didn't sort of come from a community that was sort of surrounded by crime. I got caught up in quite a childish sort of acid house sort of crime wave. And when I was arrested, nobody knew what I was doing, my family or anyone. I'd kind of gone away and done it on my own. So it was really a massive sort of thing sort of for my parents, and telling sort of all my loved ones and my sort of siblings and everything.
How long were you in prison for?
I was lucky in the end. I only got time served, and my parents remortgaged the house and put up bail money, and I got out after 8 months. But I was...
But still, 8 months is still...
But it was a Christmas and a birthday, and it was also in America and a long way from home. And my routine medical showed me to be pregnant. So I had a lot of stuff going on.
Okay. How did you try and cope?
The first couple of weeks I was really in shock, I think, and it was very much a case of sort of crying myself to sleep every night. But you soon get, you have to cope because there's no choice really, so you get caught into the routine and just get on with it. And there are nice people that look after you, and there are people that are sort of kind of fake friendships, and sort of weird people, and people that are a lot more in a worse position than you, and so it's a melting pot for people. It's like some people are much more on the edge than you and have a much worse situation. So you just have to sort of find your place and get along with it.
What was the hardest thing for you to deal with? Was it after like the initial shock? Then what was it that was really difficult to deal with?
I struggled with what I'd done to my family, and that really played on me. And worrying about, I didn't know the first 3 months I was there, I was being told that I was going to be there 10 years. So it was all like but things happen so quickly and sort of outside the prison. So sort of trying to come to terms with that. But the guilt and the feeling like you've been so stupid and childish, and I felt childish, and that was sort of depressing, because I felt like I've been like really stupid.
Okay, and how about yourself, Dean? How were you in prison?
Well, I come from a different background to Carlotta. I was born into a very large crime family of 11. I had 9 uncles, 60 odd cousins. I mean, it was just, they were very poor from after the war and stuff like that. So crime was their way of life. It was their business. It was the way they put food on the table. And I was born into that world.
So you're kind of used to that
born into it. Brought up on two of Northwest London's probably worst estates, which the kind of council estate that it was is very much like a prison anyway. It's like box on box on box, stuffing people in, no places for them to communicate, no gardens, no dining rooms, none of that. Massive schools, 2,000 kids in the school, very hard to get on. And I left school at 15 with no qualifications and went straight into a life of crime.
Wow.
So prison, for me, became a bit of an occupational hazard.
So were you in and out of prison all the time?
I've only been in twice.
Okay.
Served 5.5 years in total, at 10-year periods. I went in prison first time in 1995, and then again in 2004. And but as I said, it was an occupational hazard. But the second time that I went in, I had children and a partner, and it was the worry for them was what was killing me in a way.
So again, similar thing.
Oh
that
yeah,
was a family issue.
And it does affect you mentally, because you're trying to cast your mind outside over the walls to try to imagine what's going on.
Yeah.
And with prison, especially British prisons, who invented modern prison, which is as soon as someone realised that crime emanates from the brain and not from the body, they stopped torturing, stopped putting people in dungeons, and they built and designed prisons to imprison your mind, which a saying by Nelson Mandela is that prison is above all punitive. It operates to break the human mind, body and soul, to create an amorphous-like state. He could have been talking about British prisons, because that's what it does. The colour scheme, the fact that wherever you go, you see bars, you're out your cell, but you're in bars. It's a constant mind game, and it does create an amorphous-like state. And in one prison that I was in, which was Wandsworth, which was the most overcrowded prison in Britain at the time, an old Victorian prison, built by very Gothic design. You weren't allowed to walk across this tabernacle in the middle, and the colour scheme and the small cells, toilet in the cell, two in a cell. It just... the education department was so small for 2,000 men that only 13 men could actually study art. From 2,000, that's less than 0.5%.
But how did you actually cope with that?
Well, I coped because I realised I had to change. Because before that, I would have gone into prison with I wouldn't have bothered about rehabilitation whatsoever. I would have just come out and carried on doing what I was doing until I got caught again. But this time I knew I had to make a change. So I accessed education and art to deal with it, because... Before
you did that though, was there anyone that you could talk to in prison to express how you were feeling, or was it all very sort of kept hush-hush, we don't talk about this, we're going to act tough?
Well, the thing is that every man's sentence is his own, and everybody does it in their own way, so it is very hard to communicate. And with the education department being so small in prisons, and most men in prison are just going to get out and do it again anyway, the peer pressure on you to act tough or act like you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that, is great. So for making the step to taking education and taking art is a massive personal thing. And the battle becomes less, because all you have to do now is better yourself and make yourself feel better and enhance your life through art and education.
So that's what you started to do.
But
just before that, what did you do?
I think with women, on a smaller scale with myself, but also with women that I see now that I work with in prison, they get a lot of help from each other. They make the friendships that are formed in prisons are really strong. They're almost like little families that they, and you get these sort of prison lesbians, but it's only because they're so needy and looking for that close relationships, and I think that's something that's very common, is that women, and often they're coming from very sort of neglected and difficult, chaotic lives, and they've not had that sort of settled relationship. So there's really strong bonds that form between women in prison, and they get a lot of help and support from each other, and they can be totally broken when a cellmate leaves or is moved to another prison, and I think they get quite a lot of support.
From another family apart, isn't it, really,
they get a lot of support from that. But I mean, women generally suffer mental health problems more because they're often separated from their children, and that's really, really hard. And you know, to sort of imprison women is almost sort of not worse, but I think they find it harder in a lot of ways. Yeah.
So now I'd like to know what both of you are doing, you know, that's positive, that's helping other people. So let's start with you, Dean. You talked about your art day. Can you tell us?
Okay, well, when I was coming to the end of my last sentence, I managed to get an A-level in art, 3 National Union of Journalism Awards, and I came out, hit the ground running. I had a play ready to go. I got it on within 6 months of release, and I knew something happened to me in prison that made me realise I was an artist. And as soon as I realised that, my whole world changed, because it just opened up the world to me, and it made it a better place. Whereas I come from a background.
You had something to look forward to, and
it was something to look forward to.
Sink your teeth into.
It was, but you know, I came out and was told by everybody, my family, what are you doing? You know, they're not going to let you in. They're not going to allow you to do it. Art's not for us. It's a place where art's not trusted. It doesn't put food on the table, doesn't pay the bills. But the secret is it's not meant to do any of that. It's just meant to enhance your life and make it a better place.
For yourself,
so I started a charity called Art Saves Lives, because art did save my life. And no matter how intellectual you get about it, and you want to know, oh, how does it save lives? Well, it saved mine. So I don't need to intellectualise it or qualify it. It saved my life. So I'm living proof that it does work. And that's it, because as soon as I realised art was in my life was a better place. So I didn't need material things, didn't need to get this or want this. And
you found what made you happy.
I found what totally made me happy. That's exactly right. And that's the secret. And you know, Nelson Mandela also said,
you like him, don't you?
I love him, because reading that really changed it for me. Because as soon as I spouted that to another prisoner, like the world's greatest prisoner, Nelson Mandela, said this, it touches people, because he said the secret is not to adjust, the secret is how you resist. And art and education helped me resist in secret.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, that's amazing. It's great that you actually found something, because a lot of people don't, and it's really sad.
Whatever time of life
talk about this, so they do find something that helps them.
I mean, often prison is a place, the only time people have had to stop and think and reflect and maybe make those massive changes, because life is so chaotic on the outside, and you know, so that at its best point, that is the rehabilitation that should happen in prisons when people make that turnaround.
So tell us what about Stretch now. What did you do?
Yeah, well, it took me a while. When I came out of prison, I was very depressed that I couldn't work in teaching, because I was trained as a teacher, and then criminal records checks came out, and I was a well-qualified teacher with a sort of serious drug trafficking offence, and I wasn't getting, people didn't want to employ me. And so I kind of invented a job for myself, which is something a lot of former prisoners do, because they don't want to have to answer to sort of questioning. And I became very sort of interested in the rights of prisoners and wanting to do something to sort of, because I realised I'd been very lucky, and I'd had a lot of family support, and I'd had a lot of things in place already that I could fall back on, and a lot of people don't have that. So I sort of brought together my sort of love of arts and culture and wanting to help prisoners, and so I started Stretch, taking groups of prisoners to museums and galleries, and it kind of grew from then. So now we do a lot of storytelling and digital storytelling, and it's all about sort of taking ownership of your story and using your story in a positive way, which is in sort of long way what I've been doing over the last 15 years since sort of coming to terms with my own story and really turning it around so that it becomes a positive thing rather than a negative thing, and trying to encourage people to do the same.
Just a question as well for both of you. Did you both let go of the guilt that you were feeling? Or is that something that you still kind of struggle with? I don't think
I'll ever quite let go of it totally, even though my parents, and we've discussed it, and you know, I know they're proud of me now, I know they're proud of what I do. Because I've got teenage children now, and I think about them doing, I mean, I
One thing former prisoners are made to carry are labels, and they're forced upon us. I mean, you know, I consider myself a writer and an artist, but you know, every time I walk in the room, I'm an ex-offender writer, an ex-offender artist, and we're made to carry those labels, which a large portion of society, you know, I mean, I get questioned all the time and say, why should I care whether you do art in prison or not? Why should I really care? But, you know, you've done bad, you've been sentenced, society's put you in prison, why should I care? And I say, right, close your eyes and imagine your life without art. And they go, I can't. I say, well, why should a man in prison not be allowed to take art or do art or even understand what it's about? Everybody needs a second chance and another opportunity.
That's exactly,
And a large portion of society.
I'm sure you've heard, you know, everyone makes mistakes, but you know, I'm a firm believer in starting from scratch. Obviously, you don't forget your past, but you know, there's got to be a time when you move on and
sort of moving on, but using it in a positive way.
Because look how many people you've both helped through what you've done. That wouldn't have happened if you hadn't gone through what you had in your past.
Exactly,
right?
and a lot of people that come through it want to give back a little bit and use. And there is a thing now that the lived experience of going through that yourself can be very useful for other people.
Exactly.
So there's the empathy
So let's
sort of
focus
model.
on that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on to talk about this. It's been
a
amazing
pleasure.
speaking to you both. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Well, guys, don't go away, because after the break, we'll be joined by nutritionist Severine Menem, who'll be giving me her advice on how to eat healthily on a budget. But first, can you tell me how many offenders are in a job a year after their offence? Is it A, 73%, B, 53%, or C, 33%? Tune in after the break to find out. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, where today has been all about prison reform. Now, before the break, I asked you how many prisoners find themselves in work within a year from their release. Is it A, 73%, B, 53%, or C, 33%? The answer is just 33%. And with that financial strain, it can feel extremely difficult to eat healthily. But eating healthily doesn't need to come with a big price tag. And now nutritionist Severine Menem will show us how. Hello, Severine.
Hi, Chrissy.
Lovely to have you back on the programme.
Thank you.
So obviously this show is all obviously about, you know, ex-offenders and trying to come out and, you know, get back into society. But obviously the financial strain is quite a big one. But there are ways in which, you know, a person can eat healthily and not really like spend too much money.
Absolutely.
And it's good for everyone, not just for ex-offenders, obviously. So can you tell us how can people eat healthily on a budget?
Well, to be honest, eating healthily is very simple. As long as you eat some fresh fruits and vegetables and some kind of meat and fish now and then, and beans and pulses. It doesn't have to be all the super fancy superfood like all the health bloggers are trying to say all the time. You know, they just these new products just need some kind of research, and that's why people believe that they're healthier than the rest of us, the rest of the food, but it's not.
So just the normal things that we would find anywhere, like
absolutely.
To make sure we include some of those in our diet.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously you're going to be making something for us, Severine. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm going to make some cookie balls with 3 simple ingredients, or maybe a 4th one if you want. And it doesn't need to be cooked. It just need to be refrigerated. So, shall we start?
So let's start, yes.
Okay, so the main ingredient is oat. That's a cup. I know some people, they just use a normal cup, but it's actually a measure. It's really a measure, and it's 240 milliliters. Okay. So 2.5, like that.
I need to get myself some of these because I don't have any.
Yeah, it's very easy. So 1, 2, and it's a very, very good food because It has, it really helps to lower cholesterol.
Okay.
You know, the LDL cholesterol and the bad one, and total cholesterol. But it also helps with regulating blood sugar, and also helps finally to feed the good bacteria in your gut. So it's really something that you should aim to eat, hopefully every day, and it's quite a cheap.
It's also really cheap to buy.
Yes.
Yeah, really good.
The next thing we are going to use is bananas, also very cheap. It's more of a binder, and
they're good for you.
They're really good for you. Pretty much everyone loves banana, and they're very low in sugar, so it's always a good thing. So 2 of them.
Okay.
Oops. And the next ingredient is peanut butter.
Love it.
So peanut butter, yes, it's great. Many people love it. Unfortunately,
it tastes naughty, but it's not.
Yes, but it's actually a very good ingredient because it's a mix on fat and protein. So it means that you won't be hungry after having peanut butter.
Okay.
Unfortunately, more and more people nowadays have nut allergies and peanut butter allergies. So if it's just peanut butter, you can always replace with another nut butter or seed butter, but that's a bit expensive. So you would need like 1/3 of a cup.
Okay.
And that's basically the main 3 ingredients. But if you want to be a bit naughty or have a bit of a treat, you can always add some chocolate chips. And you add...
So you can either add the naughty ones, or what I call naughty, or the raw cacao nibs. Is that going to be too...
Yes, but it's not cheap. Everything that is
true,
raw is never cheap.
It's true, yeah.
So you need about half
Unless they're on sale, coupon size.
Yes, it's really good. The thing is, you can find really good deal when you go at the end of the day in supermarkets, or you check now and then you receive emails with what's on sale.
Yeah.
Or the good thing also to get food in a very affordable ways to go to specialist market. For example, in London, if you go to Billingsgate markets, you have to get up early, but you get food, fish in such cheap. I remember the first time I went there, I bought a whole salmon for £12.
Oh wow!
And it was unbelievable because every time I went to the shop, it cost like £5 just for 2 mini fillet, and then I sliced it and I freezed it, and I had salmon for such a long time. But it's
worth the sacrifice of getting up really early so to go there.
Well, and the problem is it's in the Docklands, so if you live far away, you might have to get really early, but it's definitely worth it.
Could you add maybe a little bit of vanilla essence to this as well?
Yeah,
maybe some cinnamon?
You can add lots of stuff, but I wanted to find a recipe that was pretty
simple,
cheap. That was my guideline. So the chocolate is already a bit of an extra, but it is tasty without the chocolate. But we all love chocolate.
It smells amazing. It really does.
Yeah, I love it.
But I love peanut butter and I love bananas. I just love food in general. Severine, what can we do?
So you're a bit biased. Okay, so we're pretty much done.
That looks like cookie dough.
Yeah, it does look like cookie dough. Okay, so now we need to do some balls with that. So ideally you take a spoon, and just to make sure that they're all pretty much the same size. And you have to use your hands and make so. Just roll them nicely. So I'm just going to do a few.
Sometimes the sort of the healthy snacks that you buy in shops, they're so expensive. Like one little thing like this might be like £2 or £3.
Exactly.
And you get so many for a fraction of the price.
That's exactly what I was going to say actually. It's they're really healthy because the ingredients. It's only 3 ingredients. Sometimes in the fancy one you find in the shops, they might sound very exciting, but the ingredients are not always as healthy as you think they are. Most of them have lots of dates, and dates are very sweet. And so you feel that it's nice for a while, and then you start craving more sugar, and you want more. Yes. Have you never noticed that? Don't you like this kind of sweets?
I do. I'm thinking that I'm healthy. I do that when I don't have time to make something, but but that makes sense, doesn't it?
If you stick to one, that's fine, but most of the time, most people, it triggers like a sugar, craving, and they wonder why, because they have this healthy snack.
Lovely.
So I'm not going to make...
no, that's fine for now.
But basically, you just do some nice balls, approximately the same size, and then in the fridge for a few hours so that it becomes a bit hard and they're ready to eat.
Can you freeze these as well?
To keep or possibly yes.
Yes, okay,
I would
brilliant.
say so.
Okay, so we're going to let you clean up your hands
Thank
and then
you.
we're going to answer some questions from the viewers, guys.
Okay.
All right, guys, so Severine, you're ready to answer our questions.
Yes,
now, guys, I have to say, I just had one of these and they are really delicious. I'm not exaggerating. I'm so making these at home as well. Thank you so much for a wonderful recipe. So we've got some viewer questions, Severine.
Yes.
The first one is, hi, Severine, is dried fruit unhealthier than normal fruit?
Well, theoretically, they are fruits, so they're the same. But now in practice, I would say they are unhealthier for 3 reasons.
Oh no, I'm going to cry. Go on then.
The first one is because they are dry, they are much higher in sugar for the same content.
Okay, yeah.
The second one is because they are smaller, you tend to eat more of them. And last but not least, because they are so sweet, they trigger a sugar rush in your blood.
Okay.
So it's never good for the body because you've got a very a hike of energy and then you've got a crash.
So better to just eat the undried versions?
It's always better to have the fresh fruits, but for some fruits like prunes or raisins, you have no other options.
Okay, all right, brilliant. Next question. Hi Severine, the older I'm getting, the longer it takes my muscles to recover from after exercise, and I often find myself getting muscle injuries. What food should I be eating to help my body repair?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. So the issue here is I don't have many ideas about how old is getting old, what type of exercise, what type of injury. But globally, for this type of exercise, this type of injury, I would look into 4 categories of foods. The first one is vitamin C, because it helps rebuild all the tissues and the blood vessels. Okay. So vitamin C is all the citrus, like lemon, oranges, kiwi, strawberry, and so on. Okay. Then that would be the omega-3. Because of they are anti-inflammation. So
the omega-3 comes up time and time again, doesn't it? It's just amazing for everything.
It's got many useful uses. So you find that in the salmon, mackerel, herring, sardine and anchovies. Okay. Next is the zinc that heals the tissue, and zinc is in like beef, lamb, pumpkin seeds, pretty much in every food. And last but not least, proteins, because muscles are made up of protein, so you need to give your body more protein to help repair the muscles.
So great advice, and hopefully this person won't be getting so many so many injuries now. So if you start eating those foods. I think we've got time for one more, Severine. This person is asking, do you have any recipes for healthy, tasty smoothies?
Oh yes, I have.
Her recipes are amazing, sorry, I have to say.
Thank you. I have, but instead of giving you what I find tasty, I will give you the formula to make tasty smoothies.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
okay.
because when I started doing smoothies, I realized, what I found was not really my taste. So I would advise to use the ingredients like you love, but in the certain proportion. Okay. First, you add half of vegetable, half of fruits, and then the more you drink smoothie, the more you can have more vegetable than fruits. Okay. A handful of nuts or seeds, if you're not allergic to that. And you fill the rest with water or coconut water, almond milk, oat milk, whatever you want. And you shake, and then you twist, according to your taste. And most importantly, you have to change everything you do all the time. Not always sticking to one smoothie. Okay, you found one, great, but don't do that all the time, because there is such a variety of fruits and vegetables that it would be a shame just to stick to a few.
So there you go, guys. We have the perfect formula now for the perfect smoothie. Thank you so much, Severine.
Thank you.
Well, don't go away, because after the break, I'll be hearing from artist Joe Machine, who has gone on to achieve success as an artist following a turbulent adolescence spent in a young offenders institute. So don't go away. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, the TV program that looks after your mental health and well-being. So now I'm delighted to be joined by artist, poet and writer Joe Machine, who's going to share his experiences with me. Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Lovely to have you on the programme, and thanks so much for coming on to talk about your experience. So obviously you've had your own experiences being in prison. Can you tell us what happened, how you ended up there and what it was like for you?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. I mean, basically what it was for me, I come from a boxing family, and the area that I grew up was a violent area. Violence was endemic. So I come from a crime family, but we had one or two people that were involved in crime in the family. It was something that really I drifted into over the years. Came from quite a deprived area, was brought up in the dock towns of Sheerness and Chatham. So crime and criminal behaviour was something that I kind of drifted into. Through my childhood, really. So I got involved in stealing and violence and stuff like that. And yeah, you know, after a while, ended up going through the system, expelled from school in a special school for a while, and then ended up in young offenders institution.
Okay. So tell us about your experience inside. What was that like, and how did you cope mentally?
Yeah, I mean, so I came from a violent area. There was a lot of knife crime, there's stabbings and bottlings in my area. I grew up around a sort of, as I say, a lot of violence related to alcohol. So it wasn't such a huge jump when I actually went away. You can't prepare yourself for something that you've never seen before. I went from special school, went to a young offenders institution. There's no way really of preparing yourself for it. People give you all sorts of advice. I had other friends also that have been away, and everyone wants to give you some sort of advice. You know, I mean, no, it didn't work. It was a shock. I mean, as far as I was concerned, when I went away, I was a naughty boy, and I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement. Really? So that was that's kind of an interesting time for me, because it really taught me to live inside of my head and use my imagination, like basically because there's nothing else to do. You're locked up 23 hours a day and there's nothing else to do, so you know, you can either exercise, which I got pretty good at, and that's something like 1,000 press-ups a day. What else you going to do? Really? And you know, sit-ups and all that sort of thing. So you know, I came out of it pretty fit and totally different in that sense, but different mentally, I think, as well.
Okay.
So I think I looked at the system, the situation I was in. I ended up being like 18 months, and you know, it was a completely new experience for me. And I think one that you can look at all the bad things that happened, you know, because there's, you know, prison system, there's a lot of violence in prisons, and young men preying off of each other and stuff like that. You even look at, yes, of course, that's a bad thing. What are you going to do? You know, you have to look at what's good, what you can possibly get out of it. And I didn't get much support while I was in.
That's a good way of looking at it, though. It's quite hard to think like that in that kind of situation, but you somehow managed to do that. Yeah,
well, I think it's the only way of looking at it, because the only other way was that I was going to go under, and you know, I knew at some point I'd come out. And you know, I kept that in my mind. Always had a very good imagination. So what I tried to do is, I'm a very visual person. I tried to take as much notice of everything that I could inside, as many different characters, as many different people as I could inside, store it up in my mind, go through stories, make pictures of it. Exactly the same sort of thing that I used to do when I was a child, really.
Okay. So you've always had that creative streak about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it saved me, really, at the end of the day.
And is that what got you into the painting?
Yeah, it was, yes, because I mean, when I was a child, again, you know, I suffered from anger-related issues and problems. I was segregated, put into the classroom. I taught myself to read, basically because I was kept away from all the other children because I was a problem. Basically, I was making drawings of the things that I'd seen as a kid, which is violent stabbings, bottlings, glassings, all that sort of thing, nasty sort of stuff that children really shouldn't be seeing. Yeah. So I was making drawings of that sort of stuff, and of course that got me in trouble. So that was the first time really that I understood that what I was doing, my you know, we call it artwork, drawings at the time, could actually affect people. It got me in trouble when I was at school, and it got me segregated, and there was all sorts of problems. That was primary school, and it kind of went on from there. But the creativity and the artwork's always been there, and it, you know, it truly did save me.
How are you using it in a positive way now? Because obviously you've even won awards for your art.
Yeah, I have. I think I've been blessed. I think I've absolutely been blessed. I've got a very powerful employer, and I've been blessed because you know, a bloke coming from my background, I mean, I shouldn't have made it really in that sort of way, but I kept on. I followed my star. I kept on. And you know, that's really what I've done. So you know, I wanted to keep on using my personal experiences in my life with violence and crime and art, and you know, the best way of doing that is, well, I mean, the only thing I'm an expert in is me. That's the only thing I really know about. So that's the thing I was generally making paintings about. And I've gone from making paintings of my own life, violence-related issues, gang culture, drug culture, all that sort of thing, alcohol-related violence, into mythology, religion, spirituality and nature. So it's broadened the whole thing out for me. No matter where you are, no matter what ugliness there is in the world, there's always something positive. There's always something that you can do that really transcends the whole thing. The trick is not to get trapped where you are.
Okay, I mean, that's great advice for people, obviously, that maybe have maybe even come out of prison already, but they're still affected, because sometimes even though the person is outside, apparently free, but mentally they're still trapped, they're still in a prison, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You see this so many times, so many of my friends have been away. I mean, I'm lucky really in some ways. I avoided going to big prisons. I got out of it before then, but I've got so many friends who are, some of them dead, some of them went on drugs, all that sort of thing. So, you know, I was lucky that I made it out, that I didn't go down like what they did. Basically because I had a positive outlook, a positive frame of mind. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone else, but what else are you going to do? What have you got left when there's nothing left? Well, there's always something left. And what's left is you. You're there at the end of the day, and that was my way of getting myself out of what I was doing. I had my art, I had my creativity. I was very, very lucky because in 1999, around about 8-9 years after I came out, I got involved with an anti-conceptualist art movement, very famous movement now, Stuckism. So I got involved with that. I was one of the original 12 founder members of that. That really taught me that I had a platform for my art, that my experience in life, it wasn't for nothing. I could use even the negativity to create something that was positive and move from depictions of stuff that basically what I was doing is depicting my own fear in form of art in order to move past that. Well, I've been able to move past that now, so I'm doing all sorts of other stuff. I mean,
What does that feel like, you're doing something completely different?
Well, it's fantastic, you know, it's great because I'm the father of 5 children. I have to square my past with where I am now as a family man, as a father and as a painter. I've met some wonderful people. I've exhibited in some top-notch galleries in London, internationally. I've got a show going on in Prague this year. We're looking at doing something in the Ukraine, you know. It's been a hell of a ride, to be honest.
Exciting as well.
Absolutely.
What about future plans, Joe, for you?
Future plans, well, I mean, this is it. I mean, I've worked with people. I tried to do as much as I can, try to give as much as I can back, because as I said, I think I've really been blessed. I've come from a violent background that I really in so many ways shouldn't have gotten out of, but I did. And I want to work with other people and show other people that, you know, that there are ways out. No matter what the situation is, no matter how down you are, no matter how far down you are, you can always get up. And so I work with people from the Skylight Centre, homeless people, in the process of working with young offenders at the moment and stuff like that. So all that kind of thing. I mean, at the end of the day, if someone like me can do it, it's all about how much energy you have, how much you believe in yourself. And if someone like me can use the negative aspects of their life to do something good, then there are many, many other people out there that can do the same thing. It's not, all is not lost, you know, there are ways out, there's light, know it, take it.
Yeah, Joe, I absolutely love your positivity. And actually, I was meant to do some tips, but I don't want to do them anymore because I want to finish with Joe. So as you've given so much great advice already, Joe, just for the short space of time that you're here. And you know, I just want to sort of maybe like to expand a bit more, because there are people that think, this is it for me. I can't ever change. I can't ever do anything positive. I've got too much of a horrible past that, you know, I can't move on or ever do anything positive. But that is such a lie. Those are the lies. Obviously, sometimes you do hear it from other people as well. It's not just the lies in your own mind. You do hear it from others. But even if you do hear it from your own family members sometimes, but you can still push past that and do something for you. And sometimes people think, you know, it's that guilt thing is, I don't deserve it because I've done so many wrong things. Everyone deserves to do something great with their lives. Anyone can change. Yeah.
Well, deserve's got nothing to do with it. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, what many people see as their weakness is actually their strength in disguise. They just don't realise it. Anything can be used, absolutely anything. I'm not saying that you have to capitalise on one aspect of your life, you know, whether it be violence, crime, whatever it is, whatever the situation is for me. I mean, for me, it wasn't something that I didn't just come out and then go straight into it and then success. It took me years. You know, I mean, I'm 44 now. You know, it took me years to get where I'm at. It's just a case of keep going. You know, keep going.
Even when it seems like nothing's happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep
I mean,
going.
that's the time really when it seems like there's nothing happening. When there really is something happening, that's the time when you have to push forward. And you know, don't be bogged down by, don't be held back by what other people say you are, because you're not just a prisoner. If you've been away, you're not just a, you know, a convicted felon, whatever, you know, it is. You're more than that. That is just a title. That's meaningless, you know, in terms of what you can achieve of your life if you set your mind to it. You know, I've done it, and I've been very, very lucky. So again, I'm living proof it can be done, and there's a lot of people out there that probably do it a lot better than what I have. But you know, I don't think there are no certainties in life. There's every possibility.
I'm going to end the show on that because that was absolutely perfect. Joe, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And all the best with what you're doing, and please do keep in touch and keep us updated.
Cheers. Thanks.
Well, guys, I'm going to end the show on that one. I think Joe said it all perfectly. But if you have a story that you would like to share, please do get in touch with us. You can email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show, or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Until next time, bye-bye for now.